What if I told you that the darkest moment of my life, the moment when I had absolutely nothing left, was actually the beginning of everything I have today? 3 years ago, I was sleeping on a friend's couch. My business had failed, my savings were gone. I had $47 in my bank account, and I was 34 years old, feeling like I had wasted my entire life. But this book, this single book, changed everything. Not immediately, not magically, but it planted a seed that would grow into the success I have today. You see, I picked up this book not because I was looking for motivation. I picked it up because I was desperate. I was angry. I was tired of failing, tired of watching everyone else succeed while I remained stuck. The first line I read was, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." I remember thinking, what kind of philosophical nonsense is this? But I kept reading because, honestly, what else did I have to lose? Let me paint you a picture of where I was. I had tried starting 3 different businesses: a tech startup that burned through $50,000 of borrowed money, a consulting firm that never got past 2 clients, a drop-shipping business that left me with a garage full of products I couldn't sell. Everyone around me had opinions. Maybe entrepreneurship isn't for you. You should get a stable job. Stop chasing impossible dreams. The worst part wasn't the financial failure. It was looking in the mirror and seeing someone who had given up on himself. I had become someone I didn't recognize, someone who made excuses instead of taking action. But here's what I didn't understand then, and what this book taught me. Every single obstacle I was facing was actually information. Every failure was actually education. Every setback was actually set up for something bigger. I started taking notes as I read, not just copying quotes, but really thinking about how these ancient Stoic principles applied to my modern problems. Marcus Aurelius faced the plague and war. Seneca faced exile and loss of fortune. What were my problems compared to theirs? The first principle that hit me was this: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. But how do you actually do that when you're drowning in problems? How do you maintain mental strength when everything is falling apart? That's what I was about to discover. The transformation didn't happen overnight. It happened through what I call the 3 pillars of resilient success. And I learned these directly from applying the book's teachings to my real-world struggles. The book taught me that our initial perception of events is almost always wrong. When my 3rd business failed, I perceived it as proof that I was destined to fail. But the Stoics taught me to ask different questions. What can this teach me? How can this make me stronger? What opportunity is hidden in this obstacle? I remember the day I got the call that my biggest client was terminating our contract. My first thought was, this is it, I'm done. But then I remembered Marcus Aurelius. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. So I sat down and wrote out everything I learned from that client relationship. The processes I developed, the systems I created, the problems I solved. Within 2 weeks, I had turned those lessons into a framework that became the foundation of my next venture. That failed client relationship became the blueprint for a business that generated $2.3 million in its first year. The book has a chapter called The Discipline of Action that completely changed how I approached fear and uncertainty. Seneca wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." But here's what I learned. You don't overcome fear by eliminating it. You overcome fear by acting despite it. When I started my current business, I was terrified. I had failed before. I had no safety net. But I remembered what the book taught me about persistence and focused action. I started with one small step. Instead of trying to build the perfect business plan, I called one potential customer. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment, I launched with a minimum viable product. My first version was embarrassing. The website looked like it was built in 1995. My first presentation was a disaster. But I kept acting, kept improving, kept learning. The book taught me that action isn't just about doing. It's about doing the right things consistently, even when you don't feel like it. This is where the book saved my life. Literally. There were nights when I wanted to give up completely, not just on business, on everything. The Stoics taught me that our will, our inner strength, is the only thing that can never be taken from us. External circumstances can destroy our money, our reputation, our health, but they cannot destroy our will to continue. I remember one particularly dark night, 6 months into my current business, when I had made only $3,000 in revenue and had spent $15,000 on expenses. I was reading this passage from Marcus Aurelius. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for, the things I was brought into the world to do? That night, I made a decision. I would persist for 1 more year, no matter what. I would apply every principle from this book, every lesson from my failures, every ounce of strength I had left. 11 months later, I had my first 6-figure month. Not because I got lucky, but because I had developed the mental resilience to persist through every obstacle. The book taught me that success isn't about avoiding obstacles. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle any obstacle. Now, let me share with you the specific strategies and mindset shifts that came from applying this book to real-world challenges. These aren't just theories. These are battle-tested principles that took me from broke to building a 7-figure business. The daily discipline system. Every morning, I start with what I call the Stoic Success Protocol. Morning reflection, 5 minutes. What obstacles might I face today? How can I use these obstacles to grow stronger? What is within my control today? Evening review, 5 minutes. What did I learn from today's challenges? How did I respond to difficulties? What will I do differently tomorrow? This simple practice, inspired by Marcus Aurelius's meditations, builds mental resilience over time. The 3 questions for every obstacle. When you face any challenge, ask, what is this trying to teach me? How can this make me stronger? What action can I take right now? Last year, a competitor launched a product that was 90% identical to mine. My first instinct was panic, but I asked these 3 questions. This taught me that I needed to innovate faster and build stronger customer relationships. This made me stronger by forcing me to differentiate my value proposition. I could take action by surveying my customers about what they wanted next. The result? We developed features that were 10x better than the competition, and our customer retention rate increased by 40%. The perception shift technique. Instead of saying this is a disaster, say this is information. Instead of why is this happening to me, ask what is this preparing me for? Instead of I can't handle this, declare I'm exactly where I need to be. Building unshakable confidence. The book taught me that confidence isn't feeling good, it's knowing you can handle whatever comes your way. The obstacle inventory. List every major challenge you've overcome. You're stronger than you think. The worst case scenario. What's the absolute worst that could happen? Usually it's not as bad as you imagine, and you're more capable than you realize. The growth mindset. Every setback is a setup for a comeback if you're willing to learn and adapt. My personal success formula. Resilient success equals clear vision, consistent action, stoic mindset, time. Clear vision, know exactly what you want and why you want it. Consistent action, do something every day, even when you don't feel like it. Stoic mindset, control what you can control, accept what you can't. Time, trust the process and stay committed long enough to see results. This book didn't just teach me how to succeed in business, it taught me how to succeed in life. It taught me that the obstacle is the way, that every challenge is an opportunity, and that we have more power than we realize. Your current situation is not your final destination. Your past failures are not predictors of your future success. You have everything you need right now to start building the life you want. The question isn't whether you'll face obstacles, you will. The question is whether you'll let those obstacles stop you or use them as stepping stones to something greater. I challenge you to pick up this book. I challenge you to apply these principles. I challenge you to see your next obstacle not as a problem, but as your pathway to success. Because on the other side of your greatest challenge is your greatest opportunity. And you, my friend, are stronger than you know. Remember, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Your obstacle is your opportunity. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Now go make yours count.